Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever the hell you are in the world, and welcome to Sidetrack. I forgot about nighttime then for a second. My brain literally forgot like darkness. I could only remember good morning and good afternoon.
You're the one closest to darkness right now, too.
Hey, it's getting, autumn's coming. It's getting dark here, like 5 o'clock. It's like we've had such a long, warm, hot summer here. It's like mental that now it's like cold and wet. It's like it's raining. It's so strange. I'm British. Should be used to it. But anyway.
Anywho.
Hey guys, and as always, welcome, Stormy Bear. How are you doing, sir?
Doing well today. How are you?
Hey guys. Who the fuck was that? Harris.
We're good?
Harris.
We're good? I think we're good over here.
Okay, did some noise come out of your butt? Anyway, Harris, how are you doing, sir?
Pretty good. Tired, but pretty good. Just been seeing way too many movies this past weekend.
You know? Oh, poor you. Look at you having to like...
And Halloween party started, so...
Oh, yeah, there is that. Yeah, we're getting... Christmas has started here too much. I'm like, it's not Halloween yet. Stop putting Christmas trees up. For the love of God. Do you know, for everybody that puts a Christmas tree up in November, a baby elf dies. So you've really got to stop doing it.
You know, Iceland doesn't have that many inhabitants anymore. All the elves are going out.
Yeah, because idiots keep putting Christmas trees up in there. I don't want to kill all these baby elves, but I can.
They can all grow up to be Legolas, you know?
Maybe.
Maybe. I'll clean. Right, so we're here today. We're going to talk about the DC. But before that, we'll do what we always do. And we'll have a little bit of a chat about what we've seen this week. So, Stormy Bear, why don't you kick us off, sir? What sort of thing you've been watching?
Okay, so I've watched this one thing. It was on Disney Plus. It was a Werewolf by Night. It was like a 1-hour show. It started off as real Art Deco, real gothic looking, black and white. Really kind of tried to mimic a old monster movie from the 50s. It actually had in the corner of the frame, every once in a while, it had like that little cigarette burn to change the reel. And it was really well done. It was just, it wasn't a series. It was,
I didn't notice that. That's genius. I didn't notice it.
Yeah, It was just, but it was just a one-off. I think Disney called it a special presentation. It was 1 hour, but it was really good. You know, I guess you could say it's a monster buddy movie once you've seen it. It was just, it deserved to be a series, I thought, or at least a 2-hour movie, but it was just really good. And sometimes, now going back into Marvel-ish, I was wondering, and Harris, did you see this?
Oh, yeah, I saw it.
Oh, yeah.
I saw it.
I saw it because of Harris.
Oh, okay. So
this is freaking amazing. Must watch this. What are you talking about? And
the first thing jumped to mind. I was wondering if the Bloodstone was an Infinity Stone. Was it the Ether? I was wondering.
Yeah. Again, that never occurred to me either. I just sat and enjoyed it. I didn't think about it as much as you, Storm. It would make sense, wouldn't it? Actually, it behaved in a similar way.
Right. Longevity in life, power, all this other stuff. I thought it was very well done.
Yeah. It does behave similar. I don't know if it's the same stone, though. The Bloodstone family and the actual character, the stone itself, are very important for the monsters for the MCU, which hopefully we get because that feels fresh and good with it.
And
sorry, go on.
Oh, and another thought I had to get around any kind of timeline discrepancies. I was wondering, since it's the Ether Infinity Stone is really kind of a gas, I was wondering if it could ever be split up.
Okay.
Bloodstone, Dark Elves. You know.
Okay.
That was a thought.
It would make sense. You could bottle it and sell it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I wonder if we could burn it and use it. Be cheaper.
Some snake oil salesman, but ether instead.
No, yeah, exactly. But I really like that Marvel did this. Bless you, sir. and I know they're trying to expand their creative juices. That sounded rude for some reason. I don't know why. But they're trying to do different things. I hope, though, they'll stop trying to do different things with the actual like superhero characters like She-Hulk and do things like this instead if they want to be creative and they want to expand their brand. Do stuff like that. It was great. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely go watch it. But yeah, stop messing around with the superhero stuff, though. That stuff we just want them to be. We want superhero, get angry, punch somebody in the face. We don't want that to be too clever. But
No.
we'll talk about Marvel.
That's gravity, but don't dangle any fish in front of my face, you know?
Okay, so here's the Marvel Encyclopedia, right?
What a bloody book.
It's a little bit thick, and most of the things in here, there's Swordsman, there's Surge, there's Swarm, there's Humanity God, there's there's all of these. Mr. Fantastic, we've heard of him. But there's so many characters in here that's just never been touched. You know, certainly we don't have to regurgitate the same dozen or so characters over and over and over. There's more to the Marvel Universe than
I'm sure Kevin Feige will touch it at some point.
With his,
they'll get touched at some point.
So other things I watched this weekend, or this week. The Peripheral, very good on Amazon. It was written by William Gibson, who's, I don't know if you're familiar with his work, but he's also the author of Neuromancer and some other cyberpunk novels. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Some are also very violent. They're very good. This stars Chloe Moretz. I forget her middle name. Grace Moretz.
Grace Moretz.
Oh my God, Kick-Ass.
Kick-Ass is the best.
I would say a quote, but I don't want to demonetize your channel. That the
yes, please don't. We got away with it last time.
And so it's kind of, you know, Oculus gone bad kind of thing, you know. There's Oculus goes really gone bad, and her and her family live in the Appalachian Mountains where I used to live. It was very well done, and of course, got caught up on House of the Dragon and Andor. Polished off The Walking Dead as much as been released. I'm on season 3 now, I think, of Fear the Walking Dead. Okay. So I'm up to where the Abomination in She-Hulk gets released from prison. And, of course, finally saw the first episode of the latest season of Lower Decks. Oh, my God. The Easter eggs keep coming. Very, very well done.
It really is a love letter to today.
And something that's really not, it's kind of sci-fi, but not really. It's a documentary on math called A Trip to Infinity. And it touches on a lot of issues concerning science fiction, space travel, and speed of light, and what infinity is. And it really puts into context the stories that we yammer on about every weekend. And it's on Netflix.
Oh, check that out.
And you don't have to repetition of it. It's very well done. It's very well done.
Sci-fi fans and nerds, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll enjoy that. I do want to talk about the Peripheral a bit more, but we'll come back to it. How about you, Harris? What have you been watching this week, sir?
Well, you know me. I've been in theater a little too much as usual, but I am excited to check out the Peripheral. I'm going to use y'all too as my gauging meter to actually press play or not. But I'm going to end up probably pressing play. But I had watched Andor and House of the Dragon. I'm excited for the season finale, or it's not series, but season finale of House of the Dragon tonight. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I've been in the movie theater a little too much. I saw Ticket to Paradise, Tar, and Banshees of Inisherin within the last 2 days.
What did you think of the Banshees? Again, not sci-fi, but it's got a lot of critical acclaim, but it looks boring as crap.
Oh, have you seen any Martin McDonagh films?
I probably
like
have.
In Bruges, or did you see In Bruges with
Yeah,
Colin
I've seen
Farrell
In
and
Bruges, yeah.
Gleason?
Oh, I should have known it was him. Shouldn't I? It's the same actors. But,
Oh yeah, it's presented as a straight comedy, and it's funny. It's really funny the entire time. It's funny, but it's very serious in its own way as well. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a comedy. It's like a drama satire or just a satirical drama.
Okay.
It's good. I really liked it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a little more serious than I expected it to be, but I think it plays into the film, and it's good because of it. But then I saw Tar right after, Cate Blanchett's new film about her being a composer, and she's going to give Michelle Yeoh a little bit of, at least, of a run of her money for the Best Actress nomination, because damn, that was good. That was good. Intense,
Great actress,
but good.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've seen something else at the cinema, but we're going to hold off on that because it'll lead really nicely into what we're going to talk about today. So I watched the newest episode of Lower Decks, Trusted Sources. And Harris, you do have to watch this episode because at the very end of the episode, spoilers, the oh god, I forgot the fucking name of the ship. Cerritos? That's not right. Cerritos, thank you. God, where did that go in my head? But the Cerritos is saved by a new class of Federation starship, the Texas class.
Hey!
And I thought,
right?
Harris, I love this. But it's
I will watch Star Trek now.
Yeah, but it's a little bit of a spoiler. It's actually like it's a drone starship, basically. It's an unmanned, automated starship, and it kicks ass. There's 3 Breen cruisers, and they're attacking the Cerritos, and they've wiped it out. And then this thing turns up and just spanks them, like immediately. So it actually makes sense. I don't mean anyone's ever thought of actually having an automated starship before, particularly when we're anti-Borg. But yeah, I thought the Texas class, because is that a metaphor? Are they taking the piss out of Texans? Like all guns, no brains? I'm not quite sure, but
someone smart had to program it. We got brains. We're the #1 place in the world for medicine and aeronautics, or typically with NASA. Not aeronautics, space.
Guns.
Wasn't there an episode in Voyager where there was a starship that was supposed to be automated?
But it wasn't fully automated, was it? It was the one that split into 3.
The Doctor was on there with also another. Oh God, another.
It was the hologram. It was the EMO program. It was the medical program, but it was the newest version.
It was played by
little Weasley fella. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna have to look at the name of that starship now. Bloody. But yeah, it was supposed to be one of those anti-Borg starships that they built, but it never made any sense to me because it split into 3. How is that going to surround a cube? It would have just got blasted. But no, I actually don't care. I'm not going to look it up. But yeah, that could operate with a minimal crew. It's not supposed to operate completely autonomously. So this will be the first ship that's like completely autonomous. So Trekkies are going crazy. So
that's cool though. That's an interesting just concept, because all the time, I mean, we have drones in real life. I mean, all the time, but within sci-fi, you can see autopiloted ships all the time, or people with skeleton crews, a robot's driving for them, and they don't really have to pay attention. They don't really see a drone ship.
The Prometheus class.
Prometheus. Thank you. Yes, it was the Prometheus, and the episode was called Prometheus, I think, as well, wasn't it? And we saw the Prometheus a few more times, and I say it made sense against multi-vector attack mode. That was what it was called, when it split into 3 and swarmed them. Makes sense against smaller vessels. It just never made sense against a Borg for me. But yeah. So the other thing I watched, same as you, Stormy, I watched Peripheral last night.
Mm-hmm.
I've just done a video, released it about an hour ago, basically saying, because I get loads of comments about people saying about the new Stargate, and goes, they'll ruin it, they'll just make it woke. And I'm like, does Amazon really make a lot of like woke TV shows? And I really hate that word. I'm sorry, I hate it so much, but it's, you know what I mean when I use it. So I was thinking, okay, I know Disney get accused of it a lot, but Amazon make The Boys, Clarkson's Farm. Jeremy Clarkson's the least woke person that's ever lived. Man in the High Castle. I listed 5 or 6 shows that are very different sorts of shows, but you cannot accuse them of being like that particularly woke. I know people got annoyed about Rings of Power. I disagree with them, but they did. And Wheel of Time. But again, it doesn't. It's not a trend, though, is it? But also, they make this Peripheral. I'll not say Peripheral is even remotely woke. It's a fantastic TV show. It's got lots of layers to it. Don't want a spoiler. We'll put a spoiler alert on. The twist at the end I did see coming, but it's clever as hell. I'm not going to ruin it for anybody, actually. We won't. But it's really, really clever. I saw it coming about 4 minutes before, and I went to the wife. I'm like, I don't think it's that. I think it's this. And she was like, what? That doesn't make sense. And then 5 minutes later, it was like, oh. But it's a really clever twist. I've never read the book, but I did read Necromancer. So I knew, I had an idea what this guy was like.
Flip.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there are rumors as well that the next big thing, Amazon want to make Necromancer as well. They've actually got a deal for a few of his books, and they're trying. Yeah, so they're going to make Necromancer as well. That will be a very violent movie, but that's going to be a movie apparently, not a series. But that'll be different. Make a series, make a movie instead of a series. But
that'd be fun.
But yeah, I can't say enough good things about this show. I thought it was actually, even my wife liked it. I thought it was really clever. I thought it was had a bit of sass to it. It had a bit, it was really intelligent. Something. It was action. There's fighting. There's guns. There's loads of things going on. You don't quite know what it is yet.
Legal drug distribution. Yeah, check.
Legal drug distribution. It's always fun.
West Virginia being in the Appalachian Mountains and the worst state in the nation for the fentanyl abuse.
Yay!
Well represented.
Isn't that where Justified was set? Or was that? No, it wasn't. It was somewhere like Louisiana or something that was set. But that was a thing. And what's it called? Noxy? That's not right. Oxy.
Oxycontin.
Oxycontin. Yeah, there you go. That was a big
one.
I
recommend Dope Sick if you haven't seen that. It's not sci-fi.
Yeah.
It's kind of
I have not seen that. I've checked that out.
Kind of. Michael Keaton did an excellent job in it.
Oh, Michael Keaton does a great job in everything. He's such a great actor. But yeah, I mean, I can't say enough good things about Peripheral. I'm genuinely looking forward to the next episode. The second episode's already out. I'm checking that out tonight. Yeah. You have to concentrate.
Yes. You
can't just sort of wander off and make yourself a cup of tea, because you will now have no clue what's going on when you come back. And it's beautifully made as well. Absolutely beautiful. So anyway, the other thing I watched, and I know Harris has watched as well, was Black Adam. And that sort of inspired our conversation topic today, because I actually liked Black Adam, but I'm not going to go as far as saying I loved it. It's not even my favorite DC movie. Harris, what was your initial feelings about it? I haven't seen it.
I mean, I went in wanting it to be good. I really wanted it to be good, but I didn't expect it to be good at all whatsoever. So when I walked out, I was a lot happier than I expected to be, and my wants were satiated in a way. The first thing that I thought when I left it was, this could have been phenomenal. I feel like all the bullet points and all the story points, even with because I thought the film was almost going to end when he was. Should we give spoilers or no?
As long as we give a spoiler alert, as long as Stormy, you haven't seen it, so do you mind? It's not going to ruin the whole film for you.
No, there's just a certain part of the film where it legitimately seems like it's about to end, and then of course the whole third act happens. But it does feel like it's going to end at that point, and I was like, okay, maybe this is why the critics aren't very fond of it, because it's a very self-contained and shorter film than I expected it to be. Then you get the third act that you expect, but it's a decent third act. It's nothing out of the norm per se, but I also feel like it was well done, and I don't even like saying it because I don't want to poo-poo on a director at all. And the director that directed this, did really well with The Orphan. I haven't seen The Jungle Cruise, but Jungle Cruise is supposed to be decent for a Disney film. And I just feel like if they would have gotten a director with more experience for something this scale of a film, it could have been not Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, but it could have been Spider-Man 3 or above, you know?
But didn't you think that the third act was a little bit rushed?
I don't know.
I mean, for me, it's like, you know, it's like 90% there, and then it still had 90% to go.
So I didn't think you'd seen it, Stormy. So you have seen it then?
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Stop talking about things you haven't seen like you have. For God's sake.
I mean, you know, I thought the portrayal of Dr. Fate, you know, by Pierce Brosnan was really good. It wasn't 007, which we're usually seeing him in, but go ahead, shut me up.
Pierce Brosnan was excellent. He is actually really
Pierce
good.
Brosnan was the singular best part.
The only thing I have to really correct you on, Aris, is that Spider-Man 3 is terrible. It's really
I didn't
good.
say it wasn't. I just said Spider-Man 2 is amazing. And I don't know if Spider-Man... I would kind of put Black Adam right... I don't know if I'd put it behind Spider-Man 3. I'd have to
First
justify
half of Spider-Man 3 is good. It's the second half that's terrible. And that's a film that should have been loads better than it was. It had
if it was just Sandman, it would be great.
Yeah, they overdid. They threw too much crap at it.
Mm-hmm.
I think parts of Black Adam, though, is a similar problem. It was just too much. The story went over the top. And I know they've got to make Black Adam able to stand up against Superman, because that's going to be the point of the movie, the series of where they're going now. And they're promising a slow burn, so they won't do another DC, but we'll talk about that in a minute as well. But anyway, without going on too much about Black Adam, but like I said, we enjoyed. I thought some of the effects were a bit dodgy in places, but on the whole, I enjoyed it. I don't know how they made some of those effects that dodgy, but I've written out a list of all the DC EU movies up till now. If I quickly run through them, and you just give like a thumbs up or a thumbs down overall for each movie. So I don't know. Thumbs up, I'd quite happily watch it again. It's great. Thumbs down, I never ever want to watch that movie again. I don't like it. Fair enough. So, Man of Steel. Okay, we'll go with that as I'll allow that. I will allow. Really?
I love Henry Cavill. That movie is just, it's not Superman.
Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started on it. What's the next on your list? I'm so angry.
No, we're coming back to it. I want to know. I love that movie. Right, okay. Batman versus Superman.
How many do you have any extra?
Other than 30 seconds, it's my favorite film. Other than Martha, why'd you say that name? Other than that, it's my favorite DC movie. I absolutely fucking love it. It's just the why'd you say that name bit. Actually, if they just delete, I just have to run out of the room going la 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 when that bit's on, and then I come back and enjoy the rest of the film. The end's weak, to be fair. Suicide Squad. Where am I? Good in bits. Overall,
it's a really bad film. I've got to just go.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's, if you broke it up into a series, you'd be like 2 or 3 of those episodes were good and 2 or 3 of those episodes were terrible. I feel like
David Ayer could have done well though.
Yeah,
no Ayer cut. I'm not going for an Ayer cut, but I think his actual vision would have been at least better than what we got.
First Wonder Woman film. Yay, we agree on one. Woohoo! Look at that. Justice League, the original Justice League, and then we'll do the Zack Snyder thing, definitely. Yeah. We're doing a lot more thumbs down thing. Aquaman. Jason Momoa. The actual film. For me. Shazam.
That's my favorite.
I love Shazam.
Okay, fine, whatever.
Earthquake where you are, Stormy.
No, it was just. What was the last one?
Let's see. Birds of Prey.
Did not see it. I am neutral.
Okay, this is the easiest one. Wonder Woman 1984.
I don't even have the energy to put my thumbs down for that.
Yeah, I just pooed myself a little bit.
My biggest disappointment was the villain.
Which one? They were all really disappointing. There's 2 or 3, and those are all just.
Maxwell Taylor was just.
And Pedro was just.
Yeah, it's just a movie.
I mean, his performance was so. I mean, so he has Mandalorian, then he has Game of Thrones. Those performances were just through the roof, awesome, didn't it? It's like 19.
Well, at that time, he had the Mandalorian out, and he was also doing, I believe it was Robert Rodriguez's superhero kid movie. So he was in 2 superhero films at the same time. It was a Netflix film, I believe.
Yeah.
That was infinitely better, and it was just a campy, fun Spy Kids like cheesy kids movie, and it was
then
good.
He did one, I forget the title. I think it's on Netflix too, where he was stranded on a planet with his kid.
Oh, that is like a 2018 movie. I haven't watched it yet, but I've only heard absolutely phenomenal things.
Yeah, it is supposed to be excellent, and I can't remember.
It's really good. Really, it's just just a 2-person drama, really, but it's really, really good.
Really simple. It was. I literally watched it a couple of weeks ago, and I can't remember what it's called. I think it's on Netflix here in the UK at the moment. God,
I've heard a lot of people reference that as the reason why they think Pedro is going to do so good in The Last of Us. So
it reminded me of The Black Hole, that film, in like tone. That's what it's sort of like. Thing is, and another film apparently Disney are going to remake. Okay, The Suicide Squad, originally titled.
But whatever.
Peacemaker, the TV series, was brilliant. Oh, you got it! I loved it.
I know. Give you a whole thesis on it. It's just James Gunn. It's like Thor Ragnarok. I mean, not Thor Ragnarok. Excuse me. Thor: Love and Thunder with too much Taika. That was too much James Gunn. There was literally I think it was a 7-minute opening scene of him falling out of that one apartment in episode 1 or 2 or 3, and that was the most dragged out. It's abhorrent for that to be on a television series for that long.
It goes on and on and on. I loved it. It tickled my childish brain, is what it did. All the way through, I'm going, this is not well made, but I'm loving it. And I hated The Suicide Squad, the sequel. I hated it. I can't even remember big chunks of it, but when the giant squid thing comes, I hated it. Finger and eyeballs moment. And then obviously
Prospect was the other Pedro Pascal movie we were talking about. Him and the kid, sci-fi. Yeah. That was 2018, not 19. 2018. Sorry.
Right. And then obviously we're now on to Black Adam. But the future of DC at the moment is we've got the Batman now, which is not really part of this universe. They seem to have separated themselves a little from it. So now we've got 2 DCEUs. They've got rid of the Batgirl movie since the new people in charge have come in. So David Zaslav has come in as the new hey dude, how you doing? As the new chief executive of Warner Brothers Discovery. And they have new chief executives in charge of movies as well, in Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca, that have come over from MGM. When MGM got bought out by Amazon, they were all, this is great. 2 weeks later, they were like, we want to leave. And they left and they went to Warner Brothers. Or they were pushed and went to Warner Brothers. So there is all new people in charge. There is a new direction. What does that mean for the DC? And, another thing I'm thinking is that the CW is moving away from the DC as well. What does that mean? But we'll come on to that. First of all, on the movies, let's talk about the Batgirl translation. They spent $80 million up to that point making that film, and then they just cut its head off. And they just think they could have just spent another $10 million, finished it off, and just put it on HBO Max. But they decided not to do that. The rumor being that the film was just not in keeping with where they want to take the DC in the future. I'd love to discuss what you guys think about that. But for one, what do you think about a new chief executive coming in and doing something like that to a movie that was 90% done?
necessary.
I kind of think it's shitty because every time that's really happened in the past, a new studio exec comes in and wipes out a slate of films because he doesn't like them, and he doesn't see that as his vision of the future studio. It's shitty for the artists, and it's also shitty for the fans because as you and I know, these decisions are mostly made by marketing people.
Mm-hmm.
Who have an advertising degree and not a film degree. They're not even decent film critics. They're just marketing people. Mm-hmm. And as it was written by Douglas Adams in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, advertising people is one of the most worthless people in the world. That's why it's right there in the book. It was written. Yep. So anyway, I always find it disappointing, because a lot of artists' work just got flushed down the toilet, and we'll never see for good or for bad.
Brendan Fraser's role in that has been widely acclaimed as brilliant, and they're saying that's the biggest shame that we're not going to see that. But Harris, what did you think?
I'm the exact opposite. I think it is necessary. I'm happy Zaslav is doing it. I think it's necessary for the whole company as a whole. I think it's necessary.
Cut his mic off. Cut his mic.
Kill it. No. How many thumbs down did we just have going over 2/3 of the DC films? Do we want to add more thumbs down to all that list?
Or 10 movies, I think 7 of them.
Let's run it clean into the ground.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. That's what they have been doing, at least. Walter Hamada just left the company, and I like him as a creative individual. I just don't like anything that happened prior to, during, and what's happening even post his mainstay with DC and Warner Brothers. The problem I think there is that they don't. It's not the fact that they don't have a Kevin Feige. It's the fact that they don't even have a committee of people that can agree on anything. So we keep getting these meddling films that try to be about something, and then they just lose what's happening because of producers and studio feedback throughout the film. There's not an actual filmmaker's vision. I don't think Snyder really ever had his full filmmaker's vision. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not the biggest Snyder person in the world. I also like Zack Snyder's Justice League significantly more than the actual Justice League, and Watchmen is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, individual comic book film. But Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman, there were reasons my thumbs were down. And I
do want to come back to that in a minute. I'm fascinated to know why you hate Man of Steel. But go on, sorry.
But they need fresh, not just content and all that. I don't even like referring to films as content, even though it's how they're treated nowadays. They need fresh everything. And Zaslav's axe is that beautiful thing tearing through all of the shit, and they're just cleaning up house. And it's not. It sucks for the Batgirl crew and cast. As an actor and someone who wants to direct and produce and do all that, that part hurts me. But if it wasn't just Zaslav, the company itself stated that they were not confident in the film. The whole company, that means the board, anybody and everybody involved, they all had to unanimously agree to put that out, which means that nobody liked the Batgirl movie. And if it was a $90 million mishap that would have just tossed onto HBO Max, the way I guess the films and TV shows are graded is not necessarily just, it is marketing in a way, because the only way studios make money off of TV shows or movies on a streaming service is bringing in new subscribers. Who is going to be a new subscriber watching Batgirl? Nobody. All the people that would watch it are probably already subscribed for all the DC content. It wouldn't have brought anybody new, and that was its pivotal point. They couldn't have made money off of it if they released it in theaters, and they couldn't have made money off of it if they didn't release it in theaters. So the one that hurts me the most is they let go of Scoob, and I'm a big Scooby-Doo fan. I smoke a bunch of weed. What do you expect? Shaggy and Scoob are my heart and soul right there. So I was more disappointed in that they canceled the Halloween Scooby-Doo movie than they did the Batgirl film, because at this point, DC is their heart blood, and it's no longer. Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon is Warner Brothers, whether we say so or not. That's how they're actually making that. That's the only way they're marketing right now and getting people to see things, because how many people are tuning into House of the Dragon every week? a lot more than went to go see Black Adam this week, even though Black Adam did better than a lot of people expected. It kind of hit that medium we expected it to, but to take a tax break, I think it was very mature and very reasonable to say. Am I reverberating a little bit?
No. Don't
okay. I think it was a reasonable thing for Zaslav and the company to just say, we're cutting it, taking our losses, and we're going to make sure all the next films that come out are going to be thumb ups for you and not thumb down, not middling.
I would say at the bare minimum, it was a brave decision to wipe $80 million or $90 million off the books. I'm just saying it's not good enough. I'm sorry, but it's not good enough. Instead of doing maybe what they did with Justice League and going, this is a mess, but we'll bring in somebody else and we'll just try to fix it. And they actually ended up just making it worse. So instead of spending more money, they just went, you know what? It doesn't matter how much money we're going to spend throughout this. It's just not good enough.
And they've already got enough PR stuff going on with the Flash right now, where if they have to toss more money at a film that they have to release, that's the one that they have to just go ahead and toss out because that's too much money gone. And Batgirl, if the Flash comes out and then Batgirl comes out, and I mean the Flash it's supposed to be a really good film. I really hope Andy Muschietti actually pulls it out. But no matter what, we know Ezra Miller is going to leave a bad taste in her mouth. Is that same universe, that same kind of? Do we want that right after that? You know, I guess take a little break and then give us Aquaman. Give us that big blockbuster thing that's going to distract us from the fact that, oh yeah, Ezra was just hanging out with everybody backstage over here.
And they've got massive problems with Aquaman too, as well.
What do we think of Batwoman in CW?
I
started out with Ruby Rose. What was it? Bruce Wayne's niece, I think it was.
I watched 3 episodes of the first season. You mean the TV series?
Yeah.
I hated it. I thought it was rubbish.
It's gotten 4 seasons under its belt by now.
I got 3 episodes in, and I couldn't watch it. I just thought it was boring.
And after I think toward the end of the first season, it got dramatically better. And then there was a new Batwoman, and I give the second season a try. It's kind of like Gotham. Gotham started off really, really strong, I thought, and then it just kind of, with the season with the pig, trying to find out who the pig is, it really kind of lost a lot of its momentum. Another DC franchise that I think is doing very well. It is not a CW show. It's more of I think it's HBO. Is Pennyworth, the story of Alfred the Butler, which is fucking excellent. Still excellent.
Yes, I really enjoy that. Maybe I should have given Batgirl a bit more of a chance. I just didn't. Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? All shows are not. It happens so often that shows aren't great at the beginning, but they find their feet. You should always try to give a new season, a new series up to, I think, about like episode 10 or 12 until you actually make a decision on it. But I just disliked it so much, I just couldn't bring myself to watch it. And I think it's more, you're watching other things, aren't you? But I feel bad now that I didn't give it a chance. No, don't care.
Well, I mean, they have done some, there has been some really, I don't mean to be the guy that's sticking it for DC here, but Arrow did very well, over multiple seasons. Smallville, I think, is the one that really kicked it off for DC on the small screen. It did very well. It's just sometimes, man, the shit they put out just don't work.
Uh-huh.
And most of that's been lately. I mean, during the Smallville days, it's like they could do no wrong, and now it's like. Yeah. And then there was League, which was really good, I thought, at least for the first couple seasons. I haven't seen anything past the first couple seasons, but it was really good.
Just to go back to Man of Steel, then. So we've talked about the movies up till now and what we've discussed. I genuinely really liked Man of Steel. I thought it was a bit. I know it's a bit more Clark Kent than Superman. and it was a different, slightly different take on Superman. But why did you hate it so much? Either Harris, you really hate it. Come on. Why did you really hate it?
It's pompous.
Well, what you just said it was more Clark Kent than Superman.
Yeah.
When was he actually Clark Kent in that movie, or was he just Zack Snyder's embodiment of just normal reporter dude that has a pompous? He was not Clark Kent. That was not Clark Kent, and that was not Superman. That was a whole different character entirely. That was and sure, I will always say different directors have different visions going into something, and each person doing that is going to add a different embodiment to whatever actor they choose to put into that role. But how was any of that Superman or Clark Kent? I don't know. Sure, I mean, I have issues with the way Snyder handled his DCU stuff. I don't dislike a lot of it at its core and in its idea phase, but I just don't think it translated well from the idea phase to the actual on-screen phase. Henry Cavill is my favorite Superman. So I say that with not liking any of the things he's really been in as Superman, besides maybe Zack Snyder's Justice League. He's just absolutely perfect in the role, and he is Clark Kent. He is Superman. But none of the things he's played have given me reason to believe that. And if he actually had played Superman or Clark Kent, I don't think we would be getting faceless cameos in half the post-credit scenes he's in. I don't think we'd be getting him as a faceless cameo in half the movies he's in. Thankfully, The Rock brought him back at the post-credit scene for Black Adam, but
he kind of had to talk him into it. At one point, Henry Cavill didn't want
years since that. Yeah, 6 years.
He didn't want to. That's why he's not in Shazam. It wasn't because they didn't want him to. They were arguing over a contract, weren't they? And he Henry Cavill for a little bit sort of went, well, I'm not doing it then. But luckily now they've seen sense and got him to sign a respectful contract. But weren't they just trying to show a Superman though that was struggling with the thing of that he was an alien on Earth? I know the whole thing with his dad in bits was Kevin Costner would rather die than take the risk of one or two people seeing Superman like shoot across that was a bit stupid. But wasn't I thought they were just trying to look at a slightly different perspective on the character. As a movie, I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, Superman 2 with Christopher Reeve was much better take on the whole Zod thing. I
am Zod.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole glass that was fantastic. But I as a whole, I really enjoyed the movie. I loved the fight scene at the end. I thought the special effects in the fight scene at the end were fantastic.
It looks amazing. It looks absolutely amazing.
I'm just very. I look at it on the surface, don't I? Go, oh, this looks pretty. I like this. It's pretty. It's like, and I'm not. Don't worry about anything else.
I get too philosophical on movies way too fast.
Yeah, I just sit there eating popcorn. I like this. I never see twists coming ever. You know the whole like I See Dead People movie, The Sixth Sense. Didn't see the twist coming. I was just sat there enjoying the movie. Everyone else went, "Oh, I saw it come about halfway through," and I'm like, "Oh,
no, like what?"
I just get absorbed into him. I just don't. I'm useless. I break him down later, but during it, I just don't. But what do you, Stormy? Do you hate Man of Steel for the same sort of reasons? Just pompous.
It was pompous. I mean, it was like I don't want to use the word preachy, but it was kind of preachy. It was. I'm not saying it was woke. Don't just keep your panties on. But it was just. It was just pompous. I mean, like Harris said, which was perfect. Was that really Clark Kent? Was Clark Kent actually Superman at any point? I mean, it's just you know, and it went so far afield of what Superman supposed to be. I mean, it could have been Superman Parallel Universe 1487 or whatever, you know. I like the trailers at the beginning of the movie than I did the movie itself.
Oh, that's true.
I said it. I'm not going to retract it. I don't care what you say, Mister.
Right. Well, I prefer the trailers for 99% of movies I watch. So, okay, Batman versus Superman, though. Other than why'd you say that name? Fuck me, I hate that. It's still genuinely, if I had to choose it of what is one of the worst scenes in a movie ever, was a bug fly mode. Got him.
Blue Beetle, what are you doing?
Sorry, I clapped right over my microphone then as well, so probably deafened. Sorry.
She-Hulk sound wave real quick.
I saw a thing once that was saying the worst scenes in a movie ever, and there was this like James Coburn movie years ago, and it was because you murdered a man. It was self-defense. Because you robbed a man. Because I was taking what I was owed. Because you raped a woman. Because it was assault with a friendly weapon, and it was generally considered one of the worst lines in a movie ever. I would say, "Why do you say that name?" is up there with that. It was such a bad moment, and it generally made me like throw up a little bit in my mouth when it happened. But the annoying thing was there were so many other ways they could have done that. Any other way would have made it.
Let me give you another reason why this show was really defective. Jesse Eisenberg is Lex Luthor.
I didn't mind.
I love the idea of it, but once again, the execution.
Is Lex Luthor, come across as the kind of individual that'd be a sniveling millennial? Really?
No, you do have a good point on that. He comes across almost insane, doesn't he? Like he's.
Fuck the running was a bad casting choice. It was just that's the bad guy, the Facebook dude. Really?
Rosenbaum from Smallville did a much better job.
Yeah,
and that was
they should have made a better job in Supergirl. Sorry, what?
And they should have made. Jeremy Irons would have made any kind of random villain much more villainous. But no, he's Alfred, the kind and coordinated and competent Alfred.
Yeah, but the fight scenes were cool. The bit where Batman goes through the window and beats everybody up was cool. Okay, I'm trying to defend against.
I feel like I have the same. I can't say hatred. I gotta preface this for all the Zack Snyder people because they're gonna come crucify me. Watchmen might be my favorite superhero film there is. Love Zack Snyder's Watchmen.
Love me so
now.
much.
That being said, Batman versus Superman, which is like people are like, oh, that's such a great film. You just don't understand it. No, Zack Snyder doesn't understand what he was trying to do. Once again, like Man of Steel. You're as a director to add a perspective to these characters, you're supposed to add a perspective to the characters that has not been seen before. And this dude just made a whole bunch of new characters and put people's names on it, so we would put our asses in seats and pay a ticket for it. He did not make a movie that was Batman. He did not make a movie that was Superman. None of those characters were actually there's are decades worth of materials. Batman's the 30s. We're in the 20s right now. That's 90 years of material. That's almost a century. And the Batman that I've seen is not the same guy.
And there it is.
He wants to kind of bring it in a more spacey and not so like Detective Comics private, like staying on that ground level. It's good to see Batman in the whole big wide world. But make it Batman.
And there it is. Harris cuts clean to the bone. It's just, he gets right. Yeah, that was a perfect summation, Harris. Perfect. You should run the studio. You should run.
Realizing I hate DC even more than I thought I did. I've always disliked DC. I always think but I dislike DC for the movies that we're going to talk about in a minute and bits. But I've always thought the DC films, that casting is always perfect. Whoever's their casting director is a genius. They always get it bang on. Jason Momoa in Aquaman is just perfect for it. I hate that film. It's not very good.
I blame Amber Heard.
Well, so I blame her for everything. What did you do to my Johnny? But yeah. But I have absolutely no memory of Amber Heard in that film. I don't give a flying. And they're cutting out. Oh God, you're blurry.
Yeah, you got blurry.
You put some Vicks over your lens.
There we go. The autofocus burped, I think. Sorry.
That happens to me sometimes. She's completely forgettable. The bad man in Aquaman's completely forgettable. The only thing that I thought was really good, the opening sequence on the submarine, actually thought was pretty cool.
Yaya's performance, at least, was great in that. Yahya Abdul-Mateen doesn't not give a great performance. The rest of the movie was...
Yeah, and the whole thing with the Mantis thing was it just looked ridiculous. The one thing that Marvel are good at is they take like the comic book and they just sort of like tone it down and change it slightly. And they have been good until the last couple of films. They change it slightly and just make it a bit this side of stupid. They didn't bother. They just basically recreated the comic and it just looked ridiculous. I just thought they did a really bad job with it. But Jason Momoa is so good in it. People seem to not notice that the film was awful.
People didn't notice anything else except Jason Momoa. Sorry.
Yeah.
Including me. God, that man's gorgeous. Did I tell you the story? I met him once in an elevator. Did I tell you the story?
No, you did not. You've met everybody though. But go on. When did you meet?
Okay, so I'm at Dragon Con, right? And I'm coming down the elevator to the main auditorium. And there is this roar of screams. What the fuck is going on? Is somebody getting like murdered or something? And there the doors open, right? There's this giant mass of meat called Jason Momoa. And there is about 50 girls dressed as Bo Peep, I think it was, screaming his name. And then he had this expression of total exasperation, flusteredness, embarrassment, as you could see this weighted soul getting onto the elevator from being tormented by the screams of multiple Bo Peeps. It was
man's dream.
I'm just trying to imagine.
Off the elevator, and we exchanged glances, and that was it. But oh my god, what's up with the Bo Peeps? I think we can figure that out. Unless there's some manga character that also looks exactly like Bo Peep, and that could have been it. But I swear to God, they had the whole crook and the whole thing.
Trying to catch hold of it.
It could have been from that werewolf movie he was in. I should know it off the top of my head. It wasn't all that great, but it was his big thing after Stargate that was supposed to get him into the film franchises, but he ended up HBO. Thank you for Game of Thrones.
This is like 2014, 2015.
Yeah, no, it was right around then. It could have been his lycanthrope film, for the lack of a knowledge of the title.
I knew he was going to be a big star as soon as when he was in Stargate Atlantis. So it was so clear he was going to be a big star because he's got that cheeky grin and everything. It's just like, yeah, I knew he was going to be a big star.
I was right after Game of Thrones.
Yeah, there you go. So that's would have been it. So just as he was becoming massive, really.
Yeah.
If we move on from that, I think Shazam for me is a kids' film, but it's good. It's entertaining. I didn't hate it. The first Wonder Woman I thought was great, but again, why did they make it after Suicide Squad, and why didn't they make it before Batman vs Superman? Why did they make it? Why is it like the fifth movie or sixth or fourth movie in the list? It should have been the second movie in the list, and Aquaman should have been in the third movie. They made all these films. Aquaman should never have come out after Justice League.
Oh, well, wasn't there a problem with that? Hang on a second.
You know what will solve it all? The Axe of Zaslav.
Really? Yeah, he does seem to be. But I say I just don't understand why they had to shoot their load with Justice League when they did.
Kind of what's been going on with them since the beginning, though.
Wasn't there some production problems with Joss Whedon?
There's always a production
with Snyder first. Snyder's I think it was his daughter, because his wife is still his producing partner, but his daughter died. I believe she committed suicide. Don't quote me on that. It was really sad, which is why he had to stop Justice League. And the studio was like, "Yeah, we can't wait on you. Get Joss Whedon." and then we got what
It
we
wasn't
got.
even that. It wasn't that they refused to. He basically said he refused to come back. Said, "I'm not doing it," didn't he? And he was almost like, "I retire," sort of thing. He was, but he just lost his son or his daughter. Sorry, you're right.
Yeah, who I'm pretty sure just committed suicide. So this dude, I mean, he deserves. As much as I poo-poo on some of his stuff, more recent. I like all of his older stuff, but more recent, just dude's had a lot going on.
Through. Yeah, so they brought Joss Whedon in, and Joss Whedon just. I don't know who's to blame for that. I just think it's two completely different directions, and it just seemed to be. It just ended up being a mess.
That's kind of the issue with the whole DC and EU in general. Is the studio and all the producers behind it? They have not been able to have a clear vision. There wasn't just like. Of course, Marvel's got their Kevin Feige, so that's always easy just to bring it back to. But typically, you have your committee that are like, all right, so this is what we're doing. These are our rules. We have a guy that's holding on to like all of our lore, and they're the one piecing the canonical aspect of things together. Did they have a lore guy? It didn't seem like they had a lore guy, which everybody does.
It seems to me that just like there's some basic mistakes going on there. In the DC, though, that like when they have the Justice League movie, which is their big Avengers film, but at that point, at least three of the Justice League, we'd not seen them before. We had not seen half of the team before that. We'd not seen Cyborg. We'd not, we saw him briefly, but it was in a different actor, wasn't it? He came through the "don't trust him" bit, and that's not an introduction. We'd not seen the Flash, and we'd not seen Aquaman. It's half the freaking team. That's just an error.
And we're just now maybe getting a Flash movie. How many years later?
It should have come before. Just they had no build up to the Justice League. They just sort of went, "Oh, we'll just do it," and it's like, no, it should. There was no. There's just that they just tried to jump to the end, which is a basic decision error from the top, as far as I'm concerned. It's just. But and then they made Wonder Woman 1984, and I actually genuinely thought that was the end of DC, which is one of the main reasons why I said we're having this conversation. I thought it was done after that.
Well, there's a reason everything afterwards was supposed to be a day in, day out with HBO Max as well.
Yeah, I think if concerning Wonder Woman and why it was out of place, I think. Remember, they originally got Joss Whedon to write the screenplay. He was originally going to, because he'd just come off of the Avengers high, but it went, as I understand in some of the reporting behind it, it went really bad off track, and they scrapped the whole thing. And that may be why it was out of sync, because they spent a lot of time with Whedon developing that script. And you just type Google Joss Whedon Wonder Woman, you will see all sorts of disparaging remarks, to say it politely. But I think the reason it was postponed and pushed back is because they were originally going to go with Whedon. I mean, the Observer called it the sexist Wonder Woman screenplay.
It's definitely when his problems started, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah.
When they started to become public, anyway. But if you look at everything after Shazam. They had Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman 1984, The Suicide Squad. Am I wrong to have had that opinion, really, that the DC were done?
I think they can make a comeback. It's just, once the marketing guys stop fucking around with it, I think it'll be better. It's just like, Marvel. I just showed you a book full of Marvel characters. There's lots of content there. There's lots of stories there. It's just, are they willing to do what they need to do
to fix it?
Tell the story. And for love of God, get away from Batman and Superman. I mean, yeah, I appreciate the Joker, the movie that came out. That was the Joker. It was okay, but come on.
What they were trying to do with that. I didn't actually enjoy it as a movie particularly, but I appreciated what they were trying to do with it. I from a critical point of view, I always think there's a difference between respecting a movie and enjoying a movie sometimes. And the Joker I respected didn't particularly entertain me. Batman versus Superman I found entertaining as hell, But yeah, if I break it down, I'd maybe don't respect it as a movie.
The reason I liked it the most was because of its treatment of mental illness.
Because it's treatment of what? Sorry, I missed that.
Mental illness.
Oh, yeah.
One of the first things, he's on the bus and he's got a card that says, he gives it to the kid, and I thought that was really strong because it's. I remember I saw a scene like that in real life once upon a time when I was living in San Francisco. Kid really not mentally ill, but he was definitely disadvantaged mentally. Yeah. And a lot of the people on the bus, unfortunately, was really against the kid. Called the cops, the whole 9 yards. And then, lo and behold, his uncle was sitting on the seat on the opposite side of the bus, just watching all this unfold. And they had to stop the bus, and it was just like, really, the kid is definitely in it. For me, because I'd seen that before, and I saw how the crowd in a town like San Francisco is supposed to be kind of understanding, permissible, just fucking wasn't. I mean, the cops it was a whole scene, picking on this mentally disadvantaged kid. The fuck? And then I saw it in the Joker and I said, yeah, I've seen that. And so that's one reason why I appreciate, especially his performance, because he really, I thought, did it well. Now, killing somebody on a television show, okay, that's maybe a little bit too much. But, at least I appreciated that it didn't make mental illness a joke.
In my real life, I work in mental illness. I work in adult social care, I should say, and I come in contact with mental illness and personality disorders a great deal. So again, I respect that. It's one of the reasons why, though, I want movies to entertain me and not necessarily, because my real life is quite stressful and quite challenging. Working with people to get them into the community, so that actually seeing people that do have challenges like that becomes normal is a big thing that we're trying to do and trying to push forward, because it's not at the moment. People see somebody with Asperger's or something and they just think they still unfortunately go weirdo, and we have to try to, but the only way to get around that is to get people in the community and get them so that they're a part of the community. And then when you come in contact with these people and it becomes more normal, hopefully people will start seeing them as, remembering to see them as human beings instead of the condition. And that's what they're saying. But that's one of the reasons why I want my movies just to entertain me, I think, because my real life is so serious. I then don't want to watch serious movies when I come home. So I can respect the Joker, but it doesn't necessarily entertain me. I wouldn't watch it again, I think is what I'm trying to say.
The same. I feel the same.
Are you intrigued with Folie à Deux?
Remind me. No, I'm not. And Thingy is as Harley Quinn, as
musical Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn. Not at least intriguing.
No, I'll end up watching it at some point, but I'm not remotely excited by it now.
Oh,
but again, I'm sure they'll do something. I'm not. I can't quite see where they're going to go with it. I thought the first one, it was powerful. And it was, and I respect the hell out of it. I don't see where they're going with it next.
I don't know how they can pick, because if they pick up or just doing a second one, they have to pick it up from somewhere. And where exactly are they picking it up from? The first Joker is very purposeful in how did it actually end? I mean, we obviously get the whole car scene and him on top of everything, but then we also cut right back to the hospital. So we don't know exactly what's going on. We don't know what was. We know something's in his head, but we just don't know how much or what was in his head, or where he is at as a person. And I guess they're gonna have to explore that. But does that mean everything in the film happened? Does that mean 90% of the things in the film? A little. Who knows?
Is it even the Joker we know from the comics, or is that just the name of the? It lost me in places after it. I don't know how it's going to fit in. How does the Batman fit in with DC? Because that was another reason why I thought, well, this is the end of DC now, or the DCEU we were becoming used to, because they completely went, right, we give up on Batman, we're making a completely new movie, a movie that's torn people up. I actually personally loved it, but I want to watch it again. I watched it at the cinema, and it is quite long. I want to watch it again before I have like a proper decision on it, but I actually quite liked it. But I thought that was another nail in the coffin. I said, well, they're going off in a completely different direction. But as Black Adam saved it.
Uh-oh. You're cutting out a little bit, Jay.
Oh, I've still got you fine.
You're cutting out. We can't hear Stormy. Uh-oh.
No.
I'm just faking it. I'm just mouthing. That's just.
Well, my instinct was he's faking it. Right. Stormy.
First instinct rules.
God damn you. Right.
Saying watermelon.
This is really the point of the video. Has Black Adam saved that universe?
Which universe? What universe?
The whole DC. So everything that we've seen up till now, Man of Steel, blah blah blah, all these films we've seen up till now. Are they going to go in a completely?
I don't think Black Adam's in that universe.
That's a lot to put on the shoulders of Black Adam, man. That's.
But Dwayne Johnson did that on purpose, though. He wants that to be there.
Big shoulders.
Well, I don't think. I think Dwayne Johnson's goal was to make it a really good, interesting, non-formulaic kind of show that's not Batman or Superman. Mm-hmm. But saving the DC universe, that's a lot. I don't think that's where I don't think he has that kind of studio power, even though he is Dwayne Johnson.
He did one thing. There's one action that he took and made sure happened that kind of juxtaposes that thought completely. The fact that Henry Cavill is now Superman again. Because not only did he Dwayne The Rock Johnson made sure that not only is Henry Cavill going to be able to show his face, but if he shows his face, what's that mean? He needs another film. And they've confirmed that Henry Cavill is getting another Superman film. So he is technically saving what we know as the DCEU, but I'm still not convinced. I don't think Aquaman or Wonder Woman exist in the same world as Zack Snyder's Justice League or Justice League, either one. I think they're going to go retroactively just say, nope, and put those where they want it to be. I think Black Adam is going to be our not ground floor and not our cornerstone or anything like that, but it's going to at least help them start to rebuild. I don't know if they necessarily actually have a cornerstone or like proper framework to build a house off of, is my metaphor here, but we will see.
I think where I'm going was if it wasn't for Black Adam, and it will be successful. If it wasn't for Black Adam, I think we wouldn't have seen Henry Cavill. We wouldn't have seen. I know there's another Wonder Woman movie coming, but I think it would have been the last one. And I think they would. And Aquaman 2, we probably wouldn't have seen that again. They would have put it back. Now it feels like they've got an opportunity. But I think I'm with you, Harris. I think they'll pick and choose now over sort of almost like what's canon. So they'll go, okay, Wonder Woman 1984. Let's never mention that again.
No.
Justice League. We just won't mention it again.
Different multiverse. That's all you got to say.
Exactly. Cyborg. Yeah. We're going to see the Flash movie. We're potentially going to see Thingy as Batman again now. Ben Affleck as Batman again in the Flash movie. Even though he said, I'm never doing it again. These are terrible. He seems to have been.
Well, Ben Affleck is in the Aquaman 2 movie.
I believe so, yeah.
Michael Keaton's in the Flash, right?
I think Ben Affleck is supposed to be in the Flash as well. They're going to have. Okay. Well, the wondering was they were going to have multiple Batmans.
Okay.
Michael Keaton was also in Batgirl.
Yes.
Apparently. So
he was the only thing that kept that glue together there, apparently.
Yeah, but so that is one. But that's whether Ben Affleck.
Here's a question. Well, first I'd like to start off with the statement that clearly Marvel had their world-building ideas much better planned than DC did. And also DC doesn't have Disney money. Neither does Warner. They don't have Disney money. They don't have, I'm still waiting for a coherent streaming service for Warner Brothers, but we get all these. That's another topic. And so clearly, DC is suffering from any kind of overarching, plan to show all of their properties. It seems like it's scattershot. And one thing I think that they've missed, because they keep going to the same damn well, one thing that they've missed is that if we're going to do completely doing Batman shows, how about Gotham by Gaslight, which I thought was really original take on Batman back in Victorian times, and it was very original, very well done. Really, you could shoot that as almost as a one-off and not really fuck with canon that much. But I don't think there's, and Jay, you probably know more than I do. I don't think there's any plans to ever make Gotham by Gaslight into a film, or God, it'd make a tremendous series though. Jesus, it would make.
Didn't they do an animated, or are they going to do an animated?
I tell you, Batman the animated series was awesome. You guys seen that the animated series Batman, right? This is 20 years.
Oh yeah, Batman the animated series is great. I grew up on all that, which is why I'm so hard on DC.
Yeah. Okay. So, true. Because this current iteration of what they're trying to do with DCs, it's like so hit and miss. It's like there was more planning that went into Legions of Tomorrow than there did the entirety of the other DC verse.
Well, you said it well a second ago. It's obviously none of the DC people have got together and put a plan together and a plan with future plans that Kevin Feige did.
Mm-hmm.
But wait a second. Kevin Feige wasn't the first person to do this. He learned from DC Animation. He learned from Marvel Animation prior to that. Mm-hmm. He learned from when Marvel tried to do this way back in the day. He learned from the first actual cinematic universe that we had on our screens were the Christmas movies back in the day, the stop motion Christmas movies with Rudolph and the little elf guy and all Father Time and all that stuff. That was our first.
Exactly. There's more planning that goes into Cheetos flavors for the next 4 years than has gone into DC. Just saying.
That seems to be the big difference, isn't it? That Zaslav has come out and said, we've got a plan for the next 10 years with the DC. And that's one of the things he said with Batgirl. Batgirl didn't fit that 10-year plan. Mm-hmm. The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, has come out and said there's a plan. There's going to be Black Adam versus Superman is not going to be something that's going to be. I think this is going to be a slow burn towards them fight, but there is a plan, and that is the difference, isn't it? But Kevin Feige, to me, always seemed to be his plan was to simplify, and it was sort of like let's not. And that's so. This moves on to my last question of the evening because my stomach's grumbling. Marvel has definitely taken a little bit of a nosedive recently. Everything seems to be overly complicated, and they're trying to do too many different things. And what I always felt was, like say, Marvel's most important bit was that the thing they did best was they kept things simple, they kept things entertaining, and they kept things that all made sense. And that all seems to have gone a bit spaghetti junction in the last couple of years. So that's a British saying. And because we have a road system in this country called Spaghetti Junction, it's the most confusing freaking road on the planet. All these roads go in and they don't seem to go anywhere.
We have one of those in Atlanta. It's called Spaghetti Junction.
Yeah. But I'm glad that's a saying that travels. But the Marvel seems to be. Could the DC actually then take advantage of that over the next few years if they release a couple of movies? If The Flash is good, if the new Wonder Woman movie is good, if Aquaman 2... Could they actually? It's always been sort of like Marvel's poor cousin, the DC movies. They've always been a bit second rate. Could they actually overtake their loud neighbors and become, the dominant force in superhero movies in the next few years if they play their cards right?
Do you think they'd risk that kind of money?
They can make a lot of money.
They can make a lot of money.
Make a lot of money. On Batman movies alone, how is it like in the top 20 movies of all time, highest grossing movies of all time, like 3 of them Batman films?
No, the highest. I'm thinking. Either way, no. Marvel's and Disney in general has that entire list. The top 10 films ever made. I think Disney is every single one of them, maybe besides one, because at least domestic box office, US wise, I know Marvel has, I think, 4 out of the first 6, and then Star Wars: The Last Jedi and Star Wars: The Force Awakens are up there.
Oh, I tell you what, actually, you are bang on. I'm down to 40 something. I still haven't found a Batman movie. Batman definitely used to be in the top 10 highest grossing movies of all time.
Box Office Mojo top lifetime grosses. Avatar's number 1.
Avatar, Avengers,
Right. Avengers,
Star Wars, Avengers, Spider-Man, Jurassic World, The Lion King, Avengers, Furious 7, Top Gun, Frozen 2, Avengers, Black Panther, Harry Potter, Star Wars. These are all Disney movies. Beauty and the Beast, Incredibles, Fast and the Furious, Iron Man 3.
Universal had a couple though. Jurassic and
Aquaman 25. Aquaman number 25.
Okay. Oh, because Aquaman made 1.2 billion or something like that. We looked it up, I think, a stream or two ago.
I've lost it now.
But no, you brought up a good point. No, you brought up a good point.
Oh,
sorry, what?
The Dark Knight was number 50.
Well, I guess.
So ignore me. Completely wrong. Batman versus Superman 78.
Kung Fu Panda 2 was 146.
I'm just wondering if this is just American or what have I actually picked up here? No, highest gross in IMDb Pro.
Yeah.
So there you go. They'll always make Batman movies, won't they? They'll always make Superman movies. But is the wider DC universe? I just feel like they're in a better position right now than Marvel. I just feel like Marvel's very confused.
Well, okay, so
they just seem to be in a better.
You bring up 2 interesting points because you were saying Stormy a minute ago was like no Batman, no Superman, focus on all this wide plethora of characters, which, not a bad idea. Black Adam, one of the things I thought that they have, DC in general, has kind of been doing weaker, is just kind of tossing us into a world of superheroes without saying, okay, superheroes exist. This is what's going on. This is the particular individual story we're going over, which is a great concept, but I don't think they've been doing it very well. Shazam and Black Adam, which is kind of funny because, they're both Shazams in their own way. Mm-hmm. I think those have done that by far the best within that world that they have. But all that being said, not having Batman versus not Batman versus Superman, but not having Batman and Superman, they're Captain America and Iron Man, I think is truly hurting them as a brand and is not letting those other characters. They need the money to be able to fund those other characters. And those are the 2 characters they can use to do that. And that's not the only reason to put those guys up there. They're great characters with great stories. But what happened with Feige and Phase 4? Once Captain America and Iron Man were out, it didn't all go to shit, but the quality level has particularly dropped since then. And
and characters like Miss Marvel, I think, is where Marvel started to lose its way. Because one of the things was that Marvel was always quite grounded. Iron Man was still a man. Captain America, okay, super serum, but he was still a man. There was a grounding to it. That is one of the problems with Superman and characters like Captain Marvel. They're too powerful. And Black Adam in a way, they're too powerful. So how do you make part of the thing about making a movie and having a bit of dread to it, or is that human weakness, or the idea that they could lose, and it's like all of a sudden there's none of that with Superman. And the Justice League is a prime example of that. They were battling and about to lose. Superman turned up and just basically punched the bad guy in the face, and that was it. Done.
So as an offshoot, comparing all this DC, they don't know what they're doing. What did you guys think of the movie Unbreakable from 22 years ago? Samuel
M. Night Shyamalan's?
Huh?
M. Night Shyamalan's?
Yeah. What did you think about that? Because I thought it was a really interesting take on superheroes, the origin story of 2 guys kind of at odds with each other, and I thought it's really well done.
I thought it was genius.
Yeah, why can't we get more of that? I guess is my point. With all the stuff.
Do you want more of that after we got Split, though? I'm not Split. I love Split. Sorry, but after we got Glass,
terrible.
That
How did they go from Split to Glass?
See, I really like Glass on a conceptual bullet point thing, but once again, just the execution.
I was so excited about it because I was just like, this makes so much sense. This movie is going to be this is the easiest film in the world to make. And it was shit. I just didn't make it. I didn't understand it.
Sarah Paulson became the main character out of nowhere. And
Split
I like the whole.
Should have been a far harder movie to make.
And
from a conceptual point of view, so difficult to make and be good. The main reason why they got the right actor. And
James McAvoy was
phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Third one, bloody awful. I couldn't get it. I quite liked the Sylvester Stallone movie that was on Amazon a couple of weeks ago. Premiered. The what? Sorry, what was it called?
The Samaritan.
The Samaritan. I really like that. I felt that was a similar sort of feel to Unbreakable. Some special effects because it was made for direct-to-TV and what have you. But it was maybe its aspiration was a little bit higher than the money they were willing to put into it. But I felt that was a similar sort of feel to the first Unbreakable. But for me, Unbreakable was possibly way ahead of its time. It was just
way ahead of its time.
It was such a good idea. I think that would have been even more popular if they'd have made that film about 10 years later, when Marvel were really hitting their stride, and superhero movies were as stupidly popular as they become. I think we're getting a bit of fatigue now, but then that film would have had such a massive impact.
I feel like Unbreakable did what DC's been trying to do since. I almost said The Dark Knight, but since I guess Snyder's DC in general, because it's just trying to take so much more of a grounded and dark tone. And Dark Knight trilogy did that, but that was like ultra realism where nobody was actually a hero. It was all capable within the tech that we have today. Where of course everything after that is a little more superhero in their own way, but it was very grounded and realistic, kind of like Unbreakable. And I feel like they tried to do that and just they didn't fail. They almost worse than failed because it wasn't just so bad that, all right, this is done, let's try something else. Or like, enough people liked it, let's keep pitter-pattering for the next decade. And that's just kind of what we've been getting.
And one thing I'd like to pick up on what you said, Harris, to further expand on that. The Dark Knight came out right when America was in the heat of Iraq and Afghanistan. I mean, it came out in 2008. I mean, 9/11, it was just 7 years earlier. So now we're in a world, especially when the terrorists take over New York. Bane takes over New York.
Batman Begins was 2005, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, yeah, that's been there, done that, seen it. And it had I think that gave it a completely maybe different flavor for the script writing than what they may have originally entailed, because it was written, like you said, more realistically, more, I don't want to say down to earth.
Yeah, The Dark Knight Rises definitely had an impact because of the politics of the time, more than if you watched it now. Somebody, a millennial watching it now doesn't understand what. No, even here in the UK, 9/11 had a massive impact, and I think that felt that there was a shockwave that went through that, and you felt it in that movie. That maybe you don't appreciate looking back on it now, but
even at that time, DC in general, right then was. I don't know if they were trying to bite off more than they could chew, but they had two different projects. 2005 was Batman Begins, which was that darker and grittier, more very grounded, very realistic. But they tried to do the exact opposite the next year with not Batman Begins, with Superman Begins, right? No, with
Superman Returns. With
there we go. That's it. I'm getting things mixed up.
They tried to make a Christopher Reeve sequel.
They tried to make it that fun Boy Scout. We've got hope, which was kind of not so much in the, I guess, public conscience at the time. I think that films aged a little bit better. I prefer that over Man of Steel. Sorry, but it's because it's that.
I think I might prefer it over Man of Steel as well. Actually, I thought he was unfortunate. Really, I think they tried again. They leaned too much into the Christopher Reeve movies with his costume and everything. They went to
that one.
Nostalgia.
Its biggest issue was the fact that it didn't have a new perspective at all. Where Man of Steel was like, okay, instead of a new perspective, same character, just screw the character, new perspective in general. That was like, oh, this is that exact same character. We're not going to change too much so you know who he is. And it's like, all right, well, we as an audience know who he is already, so you have to add a little bit of a level, a little bit of depth to that character for us to actually want to go back again. And they just didn't do that as well.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right then, guys. Well, that was an interesting debate. Hour and a half.
Did we save the DCEU?
No, I think Black Adam might have done that.
Good. Okay.
And I just now the problem is now we've got the MCU as we have still got a coherent multiverse thing going on. In DC now, you've got Batman, which is one universe, but I mean they're leaning into it, aren't they? They're not even pretending. They're like, yeah,
I'm glad we didn't delve too much into that because I can do a whole nother video just on that. You think Snyder fans are going to be mad at me after this one? The Reeves fans won't be very happy with me either if we start talking about that.
Fair enough. I think we're going to have 3 or 4 different Batmans on the go very shortly anyway. So,
yeah.
Hey, why not? He's probably my favorite character in all of... If you actually had to pick a character out of DC, though, as a favorite... Oh, God, I can't believe I'm asking this now. I want to go and have some tea.
Oh, I already have mine.
Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite DC character?
Etrigan the Demon.
Okay, that's the one I've thought that for a second. Okay.
I love Etrigan the Demon.
Okay. How about you, Stormy? Do you have a favorite? If you had to pick one?
I'm thinking.
For me, it's Batman. I always love Batman. He's just cool.
Blue Beetle's great as well, but
oh, fuck off!
I when you first, I would say Batwoman. Primarily, there was an animated show some years ago, The Mysteries of the Batwoman. I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And let me look at it, make sure I get the title correct. And I thought, what?
David has just want to mention the best Batman fiction I've ever heard is on radio, where Batman breaks his back and some French dude took over.
Yeah, it was Batman Mystery of the Batwoman. And here comes some spoilers. You know, Batman's trying to figure out who Batwoman is, and it's like, was it her? No, it can't be her because I saw her at this thing. And then there was what it was actually there was 3 Batwomen. So it was, but it was so I think, you know, in terms of a spoil to Batman, you know, a lot of people saw Catwoman, you know, the spoil to Batman, you know, the smart woman, you know, the powerful woman. She's a little bit fucking crazy. Batwoman, however, didn't have the homicidal tendencies, shall we say, of Catwoman. I'll pick up. I had to say Batwoman.
Do you know why Batman's my favorite though? It comes down to 2 reasons. The first Batman movie with Michael Keaton, before we had Sky TV and everything in the UK, we only really had 4 channels, and BBC One, obviously world-renowned BBC One. The movie on Christmas Day on BBC One was a big deal back then. You know, it was like everybody sat down to watch whatever the big premiere was on BBC One. And the one year it was the first Batman movie. And they had, they used to do all these little cuts. I don't know if they do it in America, but between TV shows, because they didn't have adverts, they would have little animations between the TV shows. And that year it was sort of like mountains and clouds and a moon. And that was like their little pretty animation between all the different shows. But for the start of the Batman movie, they had the same animation, but then they had the bat plane come up and like just appear. So it was like silhouetted on the moon and then back down again. And I would have been about 9 or 10. That had such an impact on me. I was just like, this is the greatest thing ever. And then obviously I loved the movie and Jack Nicholson was ace in it and everything. And I feel like that kickstarted what we now know as the superhero genre. You know, it was
getting a load of me.
Well, exactly. Batman Returns, not so good. I won't lie. And all the other Batman movies, yeah. But the real reason is that the animated series was so good and the animated movies since have been so good. DC cannot make a movie to save their lives, but my God, they can make an animated movie.
Mm-hmm.
The Batman Superman Samurai thing they did a couple of years ago, that should have been awful, but it was bloody brilliant. They did basically like a manga movie with Batman in. And I was like, this is freaking awesome. It didn't really have an end. The end was a bit weak, but it was freaking awesome. You know, you just want to go out and kill bad people when you watch it afterwards. Like a Batman suit, and I'm going to go and kill some bad people. You know, it's just like, I freaking love it. So that's why Batman's the coolest. And, you know, what's his superpower? He's rich.
What is your favorite iteration of Batman there's ever been?
It's got to be Michael Keaton.
What about animated? Is that your live answer?
The animated series, the original animated series was the best. But again, that stands the test of time. It's still good now. But again, I was at the right age. So when that came out first time round, we used to sit around and wait for it to premiere because we couldn't obviously no stream or anything. We had to wait for it. So there was so much anticipation and it was just so damn good. But then Batman Beyond was excellent as well.
The animated wise, Batman Begins is just to me. I love
Christian Bale is fantastic as Batman, but he's no Michael Keaton.
Batman Begins, the animated series. Or is there? Am I crazy? Batman Beyond, the one with Terry McGinnis. Batman Beyond.
When it's the future one, it's the next Batman, the Next Generation's Batman Beyond. Well, that's what it's called over here anyway. I love the Batwing and the plane and everything. I just thought it was great. That's another show that shouldn't have been any good. It should have been a load of rubbish. But
it should have been awful.
Fantastic. But it was basically the same people that made the Batman the Animated Series. They came on and did that, and they said, like, let's do the next bit. And it's like,
and let's not forget, in the animated series, Mark Hamill is the Joker.
Yeah, well, he's been for years, and thank you, Mark Hamill.
Yeah, he's Batman. What's that? Batman and Superman: Battle of the Super Sons trailer. I hate this. Oh, they keep doing this, don't they? Is that a real thing? I've missed that. If it is,
Battle of the Super Sons.
Kids fighting. Oh, God, that's probably a thing. I've not seen it, but it's probably a thing. Ace, you can tell us whether that's a real thing or not. But anyway, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, as always.
Thank you.
I kind of dropped you in on this one because we were going to talk about something completely different, but then I watched Black Adam yesterday and I went, we're doing something else. And so neither of you were remotely prepared. But thank you so much. Ace says that's a real thing. I'm going to Google it, Saint Mate. As soon as we get off this, I want to have a look what it is. Yes.
Yes.
I tell you what, Dave is one of my favorites.
Yes.
You're a fucking genius, mate.
Oh, God.
The man is a genius.
High praise for Dave.
How good would that be?
It'd be fantastic.
What was the Clint Eastwood movie where he played this old man, angry old man, like Get Off My Yard?
All of them. Gran Torino, all of them.
Gran Torino, yeah.
Get on my land.
Everything past Pale Rider.
Yeah. You, sir. Genius.
So that thought real quick, though, apparently with Flashpoint, I already have the Flash as Batman Flashpoint in my head because John Campea on the John Campea show is always like, they're going to change it. And I mean, shit, they should. But Michael Keaton could definitely play that older Batman right now. That's 70. He's 74, 75. He could play the older Batman that is like, all right, I'm too old for this. Terry McGinnis, here you go. Or, give us something good.
Yeah, they should have done that with the DC anyway. That would have been wicked. People would have gone nuts. If they'd have brought in even Ben Affleck, but had Michael Keaton as the old man. But
if they do that, this entire conversation is going to go a very different way. We're going to...
You know what? Michael Keaton should have been in.
Everywhere.
Michael Keaton should have been in The Batman. That would have worked. James Patterson, young Batman, that would have worked.
Actually, that would have worked. I have a bunch of... like I said, you can get me started on that. We can have a whole nother video, but that would have worked, I believe. Much better.
I'll watch it again, and then we'll have an argument about it, because I still think it's a good film, but I just have enough trepidation to think, I think I'm going to watch this again and hate it.
That means I have to watch it again, and that's going to be at least 16 sittings, because that's it's not entertaining enough to keep me watching at all.
All right, well,
I think the first time in the theater, I fell asleep twice and woke up, and my friend did the same thing, and we were both like, we were angry as we were waking back up, and like, oh, this is still on.
I knew you'd bring Woke back into it.
4 weeks, we will do a thing. Right, guys. By the way, for next week, I'm not actually here, but Matt has very kindly decided he will sit in my chair for me. I am I'm away in my caravan for the weekend, so I will be on, but I won't be on a computer. So Matt's going to do it for us. But we will have a Halloween special if you guys are up for it. So forget sci-fi. Just come with your favorite Halloweeny movies, and Stormy, I will pay you real money if you dress up as DeVito Gandalf.
Danny Gandalf. Gandalf DeVito. Come on.
Please dress up as Gandalf DeVito. But depending on my internet signal, I will be here for as much as I can be, depending on Wi-Fi. So if you want to see DeVito Gandalf, please give us a big thumbs up. Please put in the comments for Gandalf DeVito or DeVito Danny Gandalf. I don't know.
We need a vote, and we need to figure out. Tell us in the comments: is it going to be Danny Gandalf or Gandalf DeVito?
Right. Danny Gandalf or Gandalf
DeVito. That's
I think Gandalf DeVito, but hey, I will put a poll on in a minute, all right? And we will.
Sure.
It's Danny is it Danny the Grey or Gandalf DeVito?
I think everyone will get Gandalf DeVito, but Danny the Grey. It's another DC character that no one ever remembers.
Exactly, but it's absolute genius. So if you want to see Stormy all dressed up, and Harris, you get dressed up as well if you want to. You can.
I'll do something for sure.
I unfortunately can't because I'll be in public. So unless I could talk
more reason to.
Gandalf, that's confusing. Guys, thank you again. So thank you so much. I will see you next week. And just brilliant conversation. Thank you so much.
It's always sunny in Rohan.
That is true.
It is. Say bye-bye, guys.
Goodbye, guys.
See y'all.
Toodles.